welcome to yet another series of Class 12 Geography. Today we are here to start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 10 from the book Fundamentals of Human Geography. The chapter's heading is Human Settlements. Before we start up with the chapter, let us have a look on the contents that we are going to cover. So, firstly, we will have an introduction to the chapter to know about what are human settlements. Then we will see the classification of settlements based on rural-urban dichotomy. Then types and patterns of settlements, rural settlement patterns, problems of rural settlements, urban settlements and their classification, types of urban settlements and problems of human settlements in developing countries. So now let us get started. So, let us start with what are human settlements. Here, settlement. Settlement से आप क्या समझ रहे? Settlement is a place where people stay, or it is a cluster of houses. For example, a village, a town, or a city is a human settlement, isn't it? Now, if we define settlement in other way, settlement may be defined as an organized colony where human beings stay and build their buildings, the streets and the paths on which they travel. ठीक है, सिंपल टर्म में ये एक क्या है, क्लस्टर ऑफ ड्वेलिंग्स है जहाँ पे लोग रहते हैं. सो दैट इज ह्यूमन सेटलमेंट. It may be also be defined as a place where more or less inhabited permanently, means people may stay on a permanent or a less permanent basis there. Now see, settlement में क्या होता है, जो घर होते हैं, जो houses होते हैं, उनको डिज़ाइन एंड रीडिज़ाइन किया जा सकता है, isn't it? उनके functions change हो जाते हैं, लेकिन the settlement, okay, the existence of settlement has been always there since time immemorial. Okay, if you look back, today only the form, internal structures have changed. Okay, and a variety of things have also changed. Okay, now the study of human settlements is very important in the study of human geography. Why? Because we know that the human beings and the environment, okay, they exhibit a relationship, isn't it? What I mean to say is that suppose you want to construct a house in a rural area, you will depend on the environment and utilize the resources of the environment to construct a house. Okay, so see, there's such a close relationship between human beings and the environment. That's why the study becomes very important in the fields of human geography. Okay, so I hope now you have understood what is human settlement or what are human settlements. Next, let us see the classification of settlements. Now basically your settlements can be classified into two types. These are number 1 rural and number 2 they are known as urban. Okay, ये general classification है. This is a general classification. However, there is a dichotomy in the classification of rural urban areas. Okay, so there's a huge debate, you can say, or difference in opinion. Dichotomy, as I was saying, means there is a difference in the opinion in the criteria to classify a settlement. Means, like for example, in India, usually an area is classified as a rural or an urban area on the basis of population size. Okay, we generally have a criteria to classify an area as an urban area if that area has a population of more than 5,000. Okay, but this may not be for every country. For like in the United States and Western Europe, the population criteria may not be 5,000. It may be more or higher than this. Okay, it may be 10,000, isn't it? So the first criteria to classify a settlement as a rural and urban area is population size. Next is occupation. Occupation means generally क्या होता है कि वहाँ के लोग क्या करते हैं. So generally एक कॉन्शियंस होता है कि विलेज एरिया में लोग ज़्यादातर कहाँ इंगेज होते हैं, प्राइमरी एक्टिविटीज़ डूइंग एग्रीकल्चर, माइनिंग, लंबरिंग, फिशिंग. Whereas in an urban area, people are engaged in non-primary activities. So on that criteria also, a settlement is classified under rural and urban area. So as I said, there is a dichotomy, means there is not a fixed opinion, means there is a difference in opinion in different countries. The criteria is not same for different countries. Remember that. Why? Because see, Even suppose we classify the settlements on the basis of function, like for example in India, people working in petrol pumps, okay, are generally considered as a function of the urban area or a higher order function bolte hain. Lekin the same function is a lower order function, means the people working in the petrol pumps are considered under low order functions in United States. Okay, so there is no uniformity in how we classify an urban area or a rural area. Means different countries, in short, have different criteria to classify a settlement as a rural and an urban. Now, right now I told you that India has a certain criteria. Okay, so according to a census of 1991, okay, if an area has a municipality, cantonment board, or a corporation or a notified town area committee, and the population size out there is more than 5,000 persons, and at least 75% of the male working population are engaged in non-agricultural pursuits, and if the density of population is 400 persons per square kilometer, then that area is classified as an urban area in India. There is one such classification criteria for Indian context. Okay. However, as I said, the criteria may be different in different parts of the countries. Okay, so this was the classification of settlements and the rural-urban dichotomy. Now we will move on to the characteristics of the types of settlements and different forms of settlements. So right now I'm skipping this portion, types and patterns of rural settlements. Okay, we will see it in the progressive stages. So now let us start with the first type of settlements that I said is rural settlements. Okay, so rural settlements start करते हैं. Rural जब हमारे mind में आता है तो generally we get a setup, isn't it? We get a setup like this, that the houses are generally in an area where they are closely related to the environment, okay, to the land. They are closely related to the land. Also remember, rural settlements are places, okay, where people inhabit generally, and the size of the settlements is very smaller compared to the urban settlements. Okay, when another picture comes on our mind is of the type of houses in a rural area, isn't it? It may be kacha, it may be pakka, depending upon the level of development. And also remember, rural settlements are also places where people are engaged in primary activities. They are either doing agriculture, fishing, mining, lumbering, etc. Okay, now there are several factors which affects the location of a rural area. Okay, so the location is affected by several number of factors. So let us see those factors. So factors affecting the location of rural settlements. Number one factor which will affect the location of rural settlements is known as water supply. Okay, means see, water is such an important factor, isn't it? It is required in everything. Water is required for the purpose of drinking, cooking, bathing, cleaning, fishing, etc. Okay, that's why wherever there is a supply of good water, human settlements locate there. Okay, so generally क्या होता है कि रूरल एरियाज में या रूरल सेटलमेंट्स में बोल सकते हैं, okay, ये दोनों के लिए एप्लीकेबल होगा, लोकेशन फैक्टर्स बोथ अर्बन एंड रूरल. सो पीपल क्या करते हैं, वहीं पे जाके सेटल डाउन होते हैं जहाँ पे वाटर सप्लाई होगा. सो दैट्स वाई यू विल फाइंड दैट मोस्ट ऑफ द बिग settlements throughout the country have been located along the river banks. For example, can you give me an example? That's your Indus Valley civilization, which located along the river Indus, isn't it? Why? Because water was available out there. So people have also settled out around lakes and springs where easily water can be utilized. Okay, so that is one factor for location of your rural settlements. Okay, now the places where these settlements are located near the water bodies, these are known as wet point settlements. Okay, just keep in mind, these are known as what? Wet point settlements. Okay, so this is one factor. Now the other factor that affects the location is your land. Okay, means people, okay, will prefer to live in areas where there is fertility. मतलब लोग वहाँ पे prefer करेंगे जहाँ पे fertility अच्छा हो, fertile lands prefer करते हैं क्योंकि agriculture के लिए. So in Europe, what has happened is that the people have settled down in areas where there is fertility, and they have avoided the swampy, the low-lying areas. Whereas in the Southeast Asia, okay, they have chosen to live in along the lower-lying river valleys and the coastal plain areas where it is suitable for cultivation. Okay, so remember that people settle down because of fertility also. So when you look back at the history, okay, we see great civilizations which have developed along the fertile lines, isn't it? Okay, now we have the third factor influencing is upland. Upland means, okay, upland means they will go and settle down. People will prefer to settle down areas which is above the flood prone area. Means people don't like to settle in areas where it is flood prone. Okay, so they generally construct their houses on the terraces, okay, and the levees, which are also known as dry point settlements. Okay, means it's the land is little bit higher so that the water does not damage the settlement. Okay, so they have shifted to those areas, or they have settled in those areas. But however, however, the problem of flooding is always there. Okay, now in tropical countries mostly what happens is that लोग क्या करते हैं, अपना घर अपलिंड थोड़ा सा ऊंचे टेरेसेस एंड लिवाइज में बनाते हैं, सो दैट वो लोग माशी एरियाज, स्वाम्पी एरियाज से प्रिवेंट हो सके, इंसेक्ट्स एंड फ्लड से दूर रहे. दैट्स वाई पीपल जनरली चूज सच एरियाज. ओके, now the fourth factor influencing the rural settlements is known as building material. Okay, building material means what are the materials that you will require to build your houses. Okay, generally, so what happens is that people will generally take advantage of that area where the building material is locally easily available from the environment, like the wood, which can be easily obtained from the forests, isn't it? So forests are being cleared, okay, to build houses. Now, for example, okay, just let us take this example of China and Africa. Now what has happened in China, in the lowest areas of China, okay, they have built the houses with the locally available materials. Okay, cave dwellings are very important. And in Africa, that is the savannas buildings, they are using mud bricks. And in the polar regions, okay, the Eskimos have used ice blocks to construct the igloos. Okay, so can you see that जो locally available materials है उसी से लोग अपने houses का निर्माण कर रहे हैं, वो settlement कर रहे हैं, and वहाँ पे prefer कर रहे हैं settle down होना. Then we have the other factors, that is defense. ओके, नाउ डिफेंस एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट क्राइटेरिया होता है. जनरली लोग वहाँ पे सेटल डाउन होना पसंद करते हैं अगर फॉर द डिफेंस पर्पस. मीन्स अगर उस एरिया में पॉलिटिकल इंस्टेबिलिटी एंड वॉर है, या किसी नेबरिंग कंट्री से हॉस्टिलिटी है, मीन्स गुड रिलेशनशिप नहीं है, तो जनरली क्या होता है, देखा जाता है कि वहाँ के सेटलमेंट थोड़े डिफेंसिव होते हैं. ओके, वहाँ पे हिल्स एंड आइलैंड्स पे घर बनाया जाता है, बिकॉज वो हिल्स एंड आइलैंड्स एक तरह का बैरियर form होते हैं when there is a hostility. Okay, they will protect themselves from those hills and islands. Now in Nigeria, inselbergs, okay, it's a form of geomorphic landform, isn't it? So in Nigeria क्या होता है, inselbergs में वो लोगों ने अपना defensive sites बनाया, मतलब वहाँ पे settlement हो गए हैं, एक defensive background या ground की तरह act करता है. Even in India, okay, what has happened is that in the ancient period, okay, they used to build forts. I hope you know what are forts, and the settlement was located. So these forts acted as a barrier. They protected this settlement from attack. जब suppose attack होता था, like विजयनगर empires में आप लोगों ने पढ़ा होगा कि किस तरह से सेटलमेंट को डिफेंसिव बनाने के लिए आसपास फोर्ट्स बनाया जाता था, ताकि वॉर रिलेटेड से प्रोटेक्ट किया जा सके इस सेटलमेंट को. सो डिफेंस पर्पस के लिए भी या डिफेंसिव के लिए भी सेटलमेंट्स चूज़ किया जाता है कि अगर वो कोई हॉस्टिलिटी और वॉर हो तो उसको प्रोटेक्ट कर सके. ओके, देन वी हैव योर फाइनली द नेक्स्ट फैक्टर, दैट इज़ योर प्लान सेटलमेंट्स. ओके, प्लान सेटलमेंट्स का मतलब ये होता है कि कभी कभी विलेजर्स खुद से चूज़ नहीं करते कि उनको कहाँ रहना है, गवर्नमेंट उनके लिए प्लान करके देता है. प्लान सेटलमेंट्स जिनको बोलते हैं, मतलब गवर्नमेंट क्या करता है, उस एरिया को प्लान करता है, शेल्टर प्रोवाइड करता है, वाटर एंड अदर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोवाइड करता है, ताकि विलेजर्स जाके वहाँ सेटल डाउन हो सके. इसको प्लान सेटलमेंट बोलते हैं. ठीक है, तो विलेजेस स्टैब्लिश हो सके. सिमिलरली एग्जाम्पल यहाँ पे द स्कीम ऑफ विलेजाइजेशन इन इथोपिया एंड द कनाल कॉलोनीज इन इंदिरा गांधी कनाल कमांड एरिया इन इंडिया आर सम गुड एग्जाम्पल्स. मीन्स एक प्रॉपर एग्जाम्पल जहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट इन्वॉल्व हुआ है ताकि विलेज इस्टेब्लिश हो सके, वो है एक इथोपिया में. एंड इंदिरा गांधी कनाल कमांड एरिया, दैट इज़ फ्रॉम राजस्थान टू पंजाब एरिया, जो कमांड कैनाल कमांड एरिया है, वहाँ पे भी गवर्नमेंट स्कीम्स लागी है जहाँ पे लोगों को सेटल डाउन होने का ऑप्शंस दिया गया है थ्रू प्रोवाइडिंग शेल्टर्स, ओके, थ्रू प्रोवाइडिंग लैंड्स एंड वाटर फैसिलिटी फॉर द villages out there. Okay, so I hope you all understood these are the factors which will affect the location of a rural area. Okay, if you see again, it's water, land, upland, building material, defense, and land settlements. So I hope you understood the topic today. Tomorrow we are going to pick up the next topic, that is rural settlement patterns. All right, and we'll see the problems of rural settlements in the next coming video. Till then, keep yourself updated and keep learning. Thank you.